Welcome to our online event, Ace Your USMLE, Study Smarter, Not Harder. My name is Brenda, and I'll be the host for this session. I am part of the Lecturio team, and I'm just really happy to be with you here. Well, for those of you who aren't really familiar, this is an online platform. It's basically your all-in-one study resource. If you want to study with videos or with summaries or with quiz questions, we have everything in there. And it's basically to support your medical studies, no matter where are you in your medical journey. You'll have resources to support your everyday lessons, for example, or if you're also prepping for board examinations like the USMLE, you'll have everything in there for just to prepare for the USMLE. We want to, we have a special invitation for you, and we want to invite you to the Lecturio Self-Assessment Week. And I'm going to share the information here as well, so where you can find all what it is about. And it's basically to test your readiness, even if it's for step 1 or step 2 CK. It's a realistic exam experience, so to say. It's basically a free practice test with 160 MB style questions, time in 4 blocks, 60 minutes long. And it's basically just like the real thing. So you'll receive after the assessment a 3-digit score. So just to see where you're standing, and you will also get a detailed performance report to pinpoint your weak points. So you can also study smarter and not harder. So the Self-Assessment Week is running from February 25th to March 4. You just need to register, and on exam day, that's February 25th, you'll receive an email from us with the access to your assessment. And also really good news, because this is completely free. Unlike other assessments that cost, I don't know, $50 or $60, the Lecturio Self-Assessment Week is 100% free. So take advantage of it, register now, and just gain some more confidence to take your USMLE. Now, I'm going to introduce our speaker for today's session. And I just want Dr. Ojwade to join me here on stage. So Dr. Ojwade, she is a medical graduate from Nipro Medical Academy with a strong background in clinical practice and public health advocacy. She's also the founder of the Olas Coco Mother and Child Foundation, an initiative dedicated to improving community health through outreach programs. And after successfully passed her USMLE, she's currently pursuing residency in the US. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Thank you, guys. Welcome. So my name is Ujwade Olaiton Esther, and today I would be sharing some tips with you about how to ace your USMLE, study smarter and not harder, right? That's really important, All right, so let's move on. So what are we going to speak about today? What's our agenda for today? We have 3 main agenda to discuss today. The first one is tips for starting the USMLE prep. And the second one is tips for staying on track with your USMLE preparation. And finally, tips for surviving on the day of the exam. That's very important. All right. So let's get into it real quick. Yes, no time to waste. So the first one, kickstart your USMLE prep. It's very important that you start this journey with confidence. You have to believe in yourself. That's the most important thing. You have to believe that, yes, you can write this exam and you can pass this exam. If people can write this exam and pass this exam, you can too. Yes. Don't doubt yourself. That's the first thing. Don't doubt yourself. Start your journey with confidence that you can write the exam and pass the exam. All right. So let's get into it. What is the first step? You need to understand the exam format. Yes. You need to understand how the USMLE works. So for the USMLE step 1, it's a 280 question. Yes. 280 questions. Of 280 questions. And this exam lasts for 8 hours. Yes, 8 hours. I know it's crazy when you tell people, oh, I have an exam and it takes 8 hours. Everyone's like, what? Yes, this exam is for 8 hours, but you have 1 hour break. So you have 1 hour per each block. So 1 block of 40 questions, 1 hour. So you cannot exceed this time. After 1 hour, you have to move on to the next block. So 280 questions, 40 questions in each block, and 7 blocks of 40 questions each. Now, once you understand the exam format, another thing is to set a timeline for this exam. It's very important that you set a timeline, a deadline for when you want to take this exam, because trust me, you will never feel ready for the USMLE step one. You will never feel ready. You always feel like there's still something you have to read for. There's still something you don't know. There's still something you have to search for. So you have to set a realistic timeline. And actually, on average, most IMGs, they spend at least 12 to 18 months for their preparation. I spent roughly a year and 2 months for my preparation. So it's very important that you, once you start and you say, okay, I want to write this exam, you need to set a realistic timeline. Like, okay, I will start my preparation in February, yes, and by next year February I want to write the exam, or by the end of the year this is my main goal, to write this USMLE step one. And it's also very important that you know that everyone is different. You know, some people have kids, some people have to work, some people have other commitments, so your journey is different from someone else's journey. So maybe someone else needs, I don't know, 9 months to prepare for this exam, but you need at least 18 months to prepare for this exam. So it's very important that you set a realistic timeline for yourself. Yes, everyone's journey is different, so that's very important. The next thing, it's very important to choose the right study resources, right? There are a bunch of USMLE resources everywhere out there, right? So it's very important to know, okay, I think this resource would work for me. I think this is good. I think I can use this. I think this will help. So it's very important. And from the poll, I also see that we have some pre-medical students. And my advice is, if you have plans to start medical school, start reading. Like, don't waste time. Just start reading already. It's very, very important. Don't say, oh, I will start reading when it's time for my USMLE. I would start reading. Start reading. Find the right resources. Play around with these resources. Figure out, okay, I see this is how they write the questions. This is how it goes. It's very important. And also, you should have a QBank strategy. So if you're a clinical student or you're a medical student, I think every medical student should use QBank and familiarize themselves with different. We have different QBanks out there. Find the one that is very important. Is very good for you in this case. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next step. Uh, Next one. It's very important. And also, by the way, we have time for questions. So we will take your questions by the end of this session. Okay. All right. But please write your questions. It's very important. Please write your questions. All right. Next one. It's very important to build a personalized study plan. So you need to have a study plan. Okay. So you need to understand, okay, I'm reading every day for 6 hours or for 8 hours or for 10 hours, depending on what works for you. And that's why I said earlier, you need to know what works for you. If you have other commitments, you might not be able to read for 12 hours like some other people. So you need to make a personalized schedule to see what works for you. All right. Okay, I see a question from Dogsa about he passing step two first. Or, well, I don't know, but I would say a lot of step one you really need it for step two, and I also believe for step three as well. So I think it's best to start with step one because it's really lengthy. You know, step one, yeah, it's a lot of information that you need to know. So I will suggest to take the step one first. But of course, you know what works for you. You know what, yeah. So it makes sense. It's different for everyone. All right. Next, practice exams and self-assessments. Yes, so you need to also do some practice questions and self-assessments just to gauge your knowledge. Yes, just to understand, like, okay, this is where I'm at right now in my preparation. This is where I'm at with my study prep. And right now, like Brenda said earlier, Lecturio has a free self-assessment week, so you can take this just to assess your level. That's really important. And another thing that you should know is this journey requires consistency and discipline. It's very, very important. You need to stay disciplined. You can't say, you know, it's not about how you feel. You just need to show up every day and do your question bank every single day, whether you feel like it or not. You know, obviously you're going to have bad days and good days and stressful days and days you just don't want to and days you just don't feel like, but you have to remind yourself about the goal, about the bigger picture, what you want to get. So it's very, very important that you stay disciplined and consistent. So if you have a study plan, for example, where you do 80 questions per day, right? Don't do 40 questions and say, oh, I'm tired, I don't feel like it, maybe I'll just do the rest tomorrow. No, do it today, do it now. Yes, don't spend time procrastinating, like, oh, I'll do it, I don't feel tired, because then the work compiles and the next day you're like, oh, it's too much, and then you don't spend enough time doing what you need to do. Okay. And another thing is to prioritize rest. I think this is something that I didn't do in during my preparation, and I wouldn't advise anyone to not prioritize rest. I think it's very important that you get enough sleep, that you rest. That's why it's very important to have a study plan. And in your study plan, add rest to this. Yes, get your 6 hours sleep and make sure that you rest. Okay. All right, let's move on. Yes. So maintain momentum and avoid burnout. Yes, this is about staying on track. So, like I said, please prioritize your rest. Don't kill yourself about, oh, I have to do this for 20 hours or for 12 hours. You should also prioritize your sleep. Okay, that's really important. All right, next one. Yes, about creating a realistic study schedule. How can you do this? You can use a study planner. And again, remember, everyone is running a different race. Your study schedule can be different from everyone else's, and that's okay. Okay. Do what works for you. If you can only study for 5 hours in a day and it's going to be very effective, do it. I have people, and I know people who studied for 12, 13, 14 hours. And then when you ask them questions, they're like, I've forgotten everything. They just don't remember, right? It's like, study effectively. And that's why we have the team for today: study smarter, not harder, right? Don't spend 15, 16 hours of your day and then the next day you don't remember anything. If you can study for only 5 hours in a day and it's effective, that's fine. Do what works for you. Everyone is running a different race. Everyone has, when I was preparing for my step one, I was working. So, and sometimes I must say, I wouldn't say intimidated, but I just felt like I wasn't doing enough, because I had people who were reading for like 10 hours, 12 hours in a day. And on average, I was spending at least 6 to 8 hours, depending on the day. And, I felt bad about this, but I had people who told me, it's okay. As long as you're doing the right thing, it's okay. And also everyone learns in different ways. Some people, they need more time to get this knowledge, to feel, to understand what they're reading. But for some people, they read it, they understand it, voila, they get it. So do what works for you. This is really important. All right. And yes, use active learning strategies. Okay. What are some learning strategies that you can use? Do questions daily, every single day. If you're preparing for your USMLE Step 1, you need to do questions daily. But the thing is, you need to focus more on your reviews. It's not just about doing questions. Yes, everyone can do the questions. Why not? But focus on your reviews. This is very important. Don't just, okay, so you do a question right now, yes? And you say, oh, yeah, I understand. Let's move on to the next one. No. You need to understand the concept. That's the thing with USMLE. It's very important that you understand the concept. Like, okay, what are they trying to ask me here? Okay, what treatment do I need to use? What's the diagnosis? What's the next step? It's very important. Don't just skip to the next question just because you know the answer to this question. And also, I know, and I also did this. For example, you have a question and you're thinking, okay, it could be A, could be D, could be A, could be D. And then you pick D and D happens to be correct. And you think, yeah, right, I got it. Let's go on to the next one. No, go back, check. Okay, why was I thinking A? Oh, I see. They were trying to confuse me in this question. Focus more on your reviews. It's very important. So on average, you can spend 1 hour doing a QBank. But for reviewing, you should spend at least 2 to 3 hours reviewing the questions. Review them actively. Yes, review them and then you annotate key points in your book. It's very important. Okay, so my main advice for you today is to focus on your reviews. Understand the concepts. Don't try to memorize. Don't try to cram these things. Because on the USMLE, it's fresh new questions you've never seen before. So if you don't understand the concept, you might just get there and be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So it's very important that you understand the concept. All right. And also for some people, you can use flashcards, yes, to help you with like spaced repetitions. If you have problems with, remembering things or remembering what you studied the previous day, you can use flashcards. Okay. So on average, you can do about 400 to 1,000 cards a day. I used flashcards in the beginning of my prep. So yes, this is also really important. Okay. All right. Next one. Now, set daily and weekly goals and stick to these goals. Okay, this is really important. Don't just set the goals and just be like, oh yeah, I have a goal, but then you're not doing it. You need to stick to your goal. So like I said, on average, when I started with 40 Q banks a day, and then I moved to 60, and then to 80, and then 120 Q banks a day. So do what works for you again. So if you know that you can start and do 80 Q banks a day and you can review them in a single day, go for it. Why not? If you can do 100 Q bank in a day and you can review those Q banks and review actively, because remember, review is very important. So if you can do 100 Q banks a day and review them and spend time reviewing this Q bank, go for it. Why not? But stick to your schedule, stick to your study plan. That's very important. And then review a system and topic after using the Q bank. So for example, if you do a question and you don't understand, like, okay, what are they trying to ask me? You can review this. Yes, check this topic, read about this topic. Don't just jump to the next thing. And also, don't just try to fulfill our righteousness. Yeah, like, okay, my plan is to do 80 questions, review 80 questions. Yeah, but honestly, you're not learning anything. You just want to, just to tick it, like, okay, yeah, done. Don't do that. I beg you, don't do that. Okay, you need to stick to the plan, but stick to it effectively as well. So commit to the schedule, but commit to it effectively as well. Okay, this is really important. All right. Let's move on now. Oh, I already said this. So start your QBank practice very early. It doesn't matter if you're a pre-med student, a clinical student, a medical student. Start QBank practice early. Get familiar with these questions, because remember, for the USMLE step 1, we have different phases. You have your pre-dedicated phase. So in this phase, you're still, you're just here and there. Yeah. So you can start your QBank practice very early during this time. And another thing that you need to do is do it in timed mode. Don't play around. The USMLE is timed. And after 1 hour, you need to jump to the next one. And I have friends, and I also had this situation on my exam as well, where, when I started my prep, I would say, it's okay. I don't waste time on questions. Like once I get it, I answer my question and I go to the next one. Yeah. I don't necessarily have to do it timed. But in my dedicated phase, I had friends who had written the exams say, girl, you need to do it timed. It's very important. Do it timed. And when I started doing it timed, I realized, oh my God, maybe 1 hour is not enough, because then it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game when you're doing it timed and when you're doing it in tutor mode. So it's very important that you do it in timed mode. You prepare yourself for this. Okay, so you already have an idea of how it goes. So it's very important that you do this exam in timed mode. And you can flag your questions. Okay, so for example, if you have a question that you're not too sure about and you're like, don't waste time on it, because time is ticking. Don't waste time on it. Move on to the next question. And also, a lot of people tend to waste time on bar statics, calculations. This takes time, not all the time, but sometimes bar statics can take time, and you're like, oh, and you spend at least 5 minutes trying to calculate something. You can leave that at the end, and if you have at least 5-10 minutes before the end of this block, do your bar statics, solve the questions. Why not? But don't spend time on questions that are not so relevant, because we have experimental questions on this exam. We have a lot of experimental questions. So don't waste time. If you know for a fact that, okay, this is not in the book, there's nothing I can do, I don't know this, go to the next one. You can always come back to it. Okay, so my advice, do this exam in timed mode and bookmark questions that, okay, you're not too sure of. Watch some videos, go on Lecturio, watch some videos. Okay, I'm not sure about ECGs. I can't really read ECGs. Watch videos on Lecturio. Find out, okay, how can I understand this? And then go back to your QBank to try to understand what they're asking you in this question. Okay, that's really important. All right, and the next one. Now, do practice exams. I already said this. You can sign up for self-assessment to simulate real exam timings and also understand your weak areas. And I also use the Lecturio self-assessment exam during my time, and it shows you, okay, this, you're not really good, you understand, okay. And I understood, like, I had some problems with cardiology that I had to focus more on, because they show you your weak areas and they give you the score, and with this score, okay, this is where I'm at, 50%, I need to do more. Okay, so it's very important. Sign up for self-assessment, take self-assessment exams to know where you stand, and especially for people who plan to take the exam in the next 2 to 5 months. Take the self-assessment exam to assess your level right now. Okay, all right. Next one, minimize distractions. Okay, if you um, know that you need space to study and you're not, for someone like me, for example, I study with music and this works for me, right? But I know people who cannot do this. They need to be in a library, in a quiet space. So minimize distractions, study in a quiet, dedicated space with no interruptions. So when you start your QBank, 1 hour, 1 hour, no interruptions. You're just focused on doing this QBank. That's it. And also, it's important to limit social media usage, especially social media platforms where they tell you, like, oh, the exam is so difficult. The exam is so difficult. I don't think you can do it. Believe in yourself. You can do it, especially on Reddit. There are a lot of things on Reddit that I saw, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this exam. So it's very important to limit this usage during this time, especially during your dedicated phase. Trust me, you will have doubts. You have moments where you would cry and be like, I'm not sure I can do this. But again, remember, if people can do it, you bet you can do it too. Okay. All right. Next one. Take breaks and sleep. I said this, prioritize your rest. It's so important. Prioritize your rest. I think for a lot of us medical students, we're so used to saying, oh, we advise everyone, like, oh yeah, you should get enough sleep, you should do this, but we're always high on coffee, and caffeine. So it's very important. Please sleep, please relax, okay? Get your sleep. Sleep helps us to retain information. Do exercise as well. I was going to the gym, and this helped with my mental strength. So if you can go to the gym, go for it. Okay, so do exercise to improve your mental strength. This also helps as well. Okay, and you need people who would hold you accountable. You cannot do this alone, trust me. You need people. You cannot do this exam alone. I had the support of my friends, my parents, my family. You really cannot do this exam alone. Have accountability partners. If you have a support group, for example, and you're feeling sleepy or you have a bad day, trust me, we will have bad days. That's for sure. You need people who are going to tell you, go girl, go boy, you can do this. You can do this exam. Get up. Don't feel this way. Don't focus on how you feel today. Think about the bigger picture. So you need accountability partners. You need support. You need people who can help you. This could be your best friend. This could be a partner. This could be your parents. But find people. And also, it's even better when you have people who have the same goal as you. So if you have people who are also preparing for the USMLE, there are a lot of groups that you can join. If you have people who are also preparing for this exam, you can join them as well. Okay, and you can, keep yourself accountable. And okay, did you do your QBank today? Yes, I did. What did you learn? What did you review? What's new for you? This is really important. Okay, all right. And now let's go to the main thing: exam day tip. Yes. So get ready to perform at your best. You have to give it your best shot. Okay. Again, I think one thing that helped me on the day of the exam was just thinking about all my effort and just telling myself that regardless of how this goes, I know I've given it my best shot. And that's something you also need to tell yourself. Taking this exam is definitely not easy. Trust me. Because 8 hours, your brain would get tired. Trust me. It would be like, there's a point where you're just like, I can't think anymore. I don't even know what's going on here, but you need to give it your best shot. Like, keep pushing. Yes. Keep encouraging yourself. Like, yes, I can do it. I can do it. Very important. So what do you need to know for your exam? The first thing, manage your time wisely. I said this earlier. Um, Another thing, just before we go into that, for the exam, you have 15 15 minutes to prep for a tutorial, right? Sorry, 15 minutes tutorial prep. So they show you how to use the system, how to use your headphones, how to listen to hat sounds. They show all of this. Yes, but you can save 15 minutes of your time by watching these tutorials ahead of your exam. So before the day of your exam, maybe when you do practice questions on different sides, you can practice this. Okay, so they show you, it's literally the same on any platform. It's the same. The tutorial doesn't change. It's the same thing that you're going to meet on exam day. So you can save 15 minutes. I saved my 15 minutes and this was really good for me. Okay, now how do you manage your time wisely? You need to prepare everything the night before the exam. And it's also very important that you arrive early to the test center. When I wrote my exam, I remember when I say invigilator or the coordinator, she was really furious with the person who came at 8 o'clock. Yes, the exam starts at 8 o'clock, but you don't want to get there at 8 o'clock because there are a lot of instructions that they're going to run through you. Okay, so it's very important that you get there at least 30 minutes before the exam. Okay, because they would tell you what to do. They need to set you, you need to test your microphone, everything. So it's very important that you arrive early to your test center. Okay, and another thing is, please don't wait until the day of the exam to know the location of your test center. I know people who miss the exam because of this. Don't wait until that day. You can go 2 days before, at least 2 days or a day before your exam, so you know the location of this place, especially if you're going to write in a country that you've never been to. Okay, please find out the location. Okay, again, save 15 minutes by watching tutorials prior to how to use the system and answer questions. And if you finish a block early, you can add the time to your break. So for example, if you finish a block, let's say 50 minutes before the end of and you have 1 hour, so it means you have 10 minutes. So if you try to move to the next block, it means you've saved 10 minutes of your time. Okay, it's because this time they add up, so it means you've saved 10 minutes, and you can use this 10 minutes to go out, freshen up. And another thing you should know, when you go out and you come back, they're going to set you again, and this takes your time. The exam never stops. The time never stops. It's always counting. It's always reading. So when you go out, be ready to get checked again, and that takes about 5 minutes. They're going to set you the same way. Like you would think, oh, but I just went to this place, like you saw me. They don't care. They would set you again thoroughly from the beginning to the end. So save your time. If you finish a block early, add the time to your break. That's very important. Okay, all right. And next, please, I beg you, eat a balanced breakfast before your exam. I don't know about anyone, but I don't play about food, right? I love food. My brain doesn't function properly. Like once I'm hungry, it's like, boom, shut down. I can't think. I just can't. No matter how easy the question is, my brain just stops. I need to eat something. So food is very important, okay? Take lunch, take water, take some snacks to eat and re-energize during breaks. Because you'd have breaks and you'd get tired. Remember, it's from 8 o'clock in the morning. So have breakfast prior, okay? And then for lunch, this snacks can help. I took lunch, I took water, I took some snacks. So like after I did, so this was my strategy. Like I said, it's 7 blocks. 2 blocks, I went out, used the bathroom, took a snack, went back in again, 2 blocks, ate something, went back in again, 2 blocks. And I thought I was going to do like 3 blocks at the stretch, but boom, after 2 blocks, I'm like, no way. I need to get out and drink some water. And depending on where you write your exam, by the way, you may or may not have water in there, right? Because this was a big issue for me when I was writing my exam, because I was dehydrated, really dehydrated. Actually, I'm actually dehydrated right now. 1 second. I was dehydrated, right? And I know for a fact that if I step out, they need to set me again. It's a whole process, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll just see it through till the end. So you really need to work on your mental stamina on that day. It's very important. And my best advice would be, before going to take this exam, try to do this exam at least 2 or 3 times at home. Like practice this, follow the time, stick to it 8 hours, and do this exam before going to the exam, just to prepare yourself mentally. Yes, because you don't want to go there on that day for the very first time and try to prep for this exam, and it's like, oh my god, like after 4 hours your brain is just like, I can't do this anymore. So please practice this before. Okay, it's very important that you practice prior to this day, 8 hours exam. Try to see how you can do this before going to the real exam. Okay, all right. And prevent fatigue and mental exhaustion. Trust yourself and trust in your preparation. That's really important. I wouldn't lie to you. On the day of my exam, I had doubts. I was like, I came out of that exam and I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But trust yourself, okay? Trust yourself and trust in your preparation. And also take a short break if necessary. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? So if you know you can't do 3 blocks at a stretch, don't do it, please, okay? If you can do just 1 block and you need a break, just manage your time, okay? That's why I'm saying practice before going to the real exam, okay? It's very, very important that you practice before going to the real exam, okay? All right, and double check. Don't waste time on questions you don't know. There's some questions you're going to see and you will not know them. Regardless of like how much you prepared, you wouldn't know the answer to this question. Don't waste your time. Move on to the next one. Just flag the question and you can come back to it. So you can flag this question and go back to the question, but don't waste time on it. Okay, don't say, oh, I'm going to try to solve it. What's the answer? Especially about static questions. Again, don't waste time on it. If you don't know it, move on to the next thing. Okay, and double check all flagged questions. And that's why you need to manage your time. Don't go spending 7-8 minutes on one question. Okay, if you don't know it, move to the next one. Flag the question. Okay, you don't want to have just 10 minutes and you have 15 questions left. That's like recipe for failure. Okay, all right. And remember, USMLE prep is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something that you just wake up and say, boom, I'm going to do it right now. No. You need time. You need to prepare. You need people. You need friends. You need accountability partners. You need to be ready for this. You need to prepare yourself mentally. Okay? So USMLE is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And trust me, if I can do it, you can do it too. I had doubts. You will have doubts. Okay? I had fears. You will have fears as well. But if I can do it, trust me. And I'm saying, if I can do it, really, because I had work, I had other commitments, I had a lot of things going on in my life during this prep. And that's what I'm saying. If I can do it, I have faith in you that you can do it too. Okay, so don't doubt yourself and don't listen to people on Reddit, because people on Reddit will make you doubt yourself. Don't do that. Trust in your preparation, trust in yourself, believe in yourself, look at the bigger picture. And also, another thing that you should know, if peradventure you actually do take this exam and it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, still don't doubt yourself. You can do it. Sit back, understand what you did wrong, try to meet people who have done this exam, get tips from these people, and you can do it again. Okay, so don't doubt yourself even when it doesn't go the way you want. You can do it. Trust in yourself. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope these tips have been very helpful for you and you've learned a couple of things, or you've gained some tips. And if you have some questions, please throw in your questions. I'd be glad to answer your questions. And again, please register for the self-assessment. Try to see where you are, okay? That's also really important. All right, so I'll be taking questions now and let Brenda take over. All right, thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. That was really insightful. Thank you for sharing your experience, and also thank you for your energy. Yeah, it's really, really lovely. I mean, just before jumping into the Q&A session, just a couple of reminders. Register for Self-Assessment Week. I mean, I'll be sharing again the link. So in case you missed it, here it is. So register for the Self-Assessment Week. Like I said, it's just a practice question, like a free practice test that gives you, like she said, a realistic glimpse of the exam, a realistic glimpse of the vignettes. And well, of course, if you want, you can also keep preparing all year round with Lecturio. We also have a powered question bank, also supported by AI in case you also need it. We have video lessons, learning paths, practice exams, concept pages, basically everything you need to succeed and to ace your USMLE with confidence. Yeah, so now we're going to jump into the Q&A session. Like, what resources did you use to prepare for your USMLE?
In the beginning, I started with USMLE RX, and I also used Lecturio, and I also that was in the beginning, yes, in my pre-dedicated phase when I was playing around. Okay, you can do that too. You can use Lecturio, you can use RX, doesn't matter. And when I got to my main dedicated phase, UWOD, okay, UWOD and FA. This is like top two, yeah, like UWOD and FA. I think you're good to go. And also, please don't use too many resources. Just stick to what works, okay? Like you think you're good with this, but don't play around with the UWOD and the reviews, okay? And also, your book. This is like your Bible. The first aid book. This is your Bible. Of course, we have the Bible, but this is your main Bible for this USMLE prep. So this is what I used for my prep, and I think it's good. Yeah, you can use that.
What a flagging a question means, I mean, it means that you can come back to it later, or what does it mean?
So yes, when you flag the question, it just means like it has like this red flag, and you can just go back and check and see, okay, and just go over this question again. Okay, that's what it means. Yes.
Yeah, so you have that option when you are doing your USMLE, basically, like you can see that option next to it in the beginning. Do you have any tips for how to prepare when having long clinical days in rotations for students with children?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I don't have a child, but I think it's a whole different ball game if you do have a child, and it depends on like the age of this child as well. And that's why I said it's really important that you have a community. Okay, you have people who can help you out and people who know what you're trying to do. But I was working during my prep, and I'm gonna be honest, I made the most of my time. So you need to utilize your time very, very well. I know this sounds crazy, but I woke up every day at 5 a.m., right? And it's my thing. Yeah. I wake up at 5 a.m. I get on, do my thing, do the most, and also focus on the most important task of the day. I think that's one thing I would say. Because if you have long clinical days in rotations and you also have a kid, that's like, I don't know, that sounds really stressful. I don't have this experience, but I think the most important thing that you can do is make the most of your time. But also, yes, you need to prioritize rest, but if you can get up, I say this to anyone, not even just medical students, but if you can get up early every single day, you understand that you do have time. So if you can get up at maybe 5 is a bit crazy, to be honest. My friends they say it's crazy, but maybe 6:30 thereabout, before you have to go for rotations. Maybe you can read very quickly, you can, just gain some things, and then during rotations as well, I think you're also learning, right? So maybe during your break you can also, try to get some information in as well. And after rotation, I'm sure you're exhausted, but I mean, you can still try to do maybe 1 or 2 hours every day. And that's why I said, do what works for you. Your situation. So it might take longer for you to be ready for the exam than someone else who doesn't have a kid or doesn't have to prepare for rotation. So yeah, I hope I answered your question, but honestly, I don't have experience with this, but I hope that helped.
Yeah, nice. We also have an interesting one. How many hours per day did you study during your dedicated study time?
Yeah, this is a very good question because remember I said I work. So 2 weeks to my exam, I took a 2 weeks break from work. And so dedicated phase, I was going through everything. So I was spending at least 8 to 10 hours in a day. Yeah, because I wasn't working during this time, but I made sure to do other things. And also, it's very important, guys, do other things aside just study. I was going to the gym, I was learning Spanish, I was meeting up with friends as well. I had guilt, of course. I'm like, oh my God, I'm with my friends. I should be studying, but do other things aside just studying, okay? But I spent at least 8 to 10 hours. And on the weekends, I spent more time because it's the weekend. So, yeah, that's my remember that's mine, okay? Yours might be different, okay?
Yeah, nice. We have another question here as well about preparation and how long do you have to prepare for step one? Yeah.
Again, this is it depends. Everyone is different, everyone has different situations, but I think for me, at least 12. When I started for real, I'd say 1 year for me. Okay, so I think for me it took at least 1 year, but again, I had work. I have people who, it's just that's their main focus, just to pass this exam. They don't have other commitments, and they were able to take this exam in 9 months. But I think on average, if you really want to pass and understand the concept, you need at least 9 months, to be fair, for step one. Except you're like really, really smart and you started like long, before the exam, then maybe you can take the exam in 6 months. But on average, I think you need at least 9 to 18 months, to be fair. So yeah. But for me, at least 1 year.
Nice. Also, another question about preparation. Is it better to approach the revision subject-wise or system-wise?
Okay, that's a very good question. So when I started, I was doing it subject wise, system wise. So it's like I did biochem, I did just microbiology. But in order to really, really, really get a feel of the exam, I would say just do it like randomly. Okay, just pick all the questions, 40 questions. So because the real exam, no one's gonna start with anatomy. Okay, next biochemistry. Doesn't work that way. You can have neurology and then you have biostatics. Deal with it. Okay. So I think it's better to you can start like in your pre-dedicated phase, you can do revision system, you can do system wise. And then in your dedicated phase, make sure you just mix everything up and just do the questions as they come. So you can be neurology, then psychology. So yeah, that's what I think.
Nice. And there's also someone asking, what's your specialization?
Oh, okay. With this specialization thing, it's always changing. Today I want to be a gynecologist. Tomorrow I want to be a pediatrician. Yeah, and in 2 weeks you can ask me and I'll say family medicine. Okay, but I'm aiming for gynecology. Yes, and one part of me is also aiming for family medicine just because of like family and being family oriented and just looking for a specialization that works for me and I can still have time for family and for friends. So family medicine, gynecology.
Nice. We'll be answering two more questions. And so the next one that we have is, can the USMLE exam be taken at any time?
Yeah, of course, of course. But I think if you're still in medical school, and I think this is something I tell everyone, if you're still in medical school, at least try to take the step one. Okay, because you're still in school, your head is still fresh, you still know what's going on. But after school, real life begins, man. So you might want to take at least one exam before you graduate. Yeah, because after you graduate, it's not the same. Other things will come up, different things. But when you're a student, you're a student. You're actively studying, you're actively reading. So I would suggest, and if you can take both exams before you graduate, why not? But generally, yes, you can take the USMLE exam at any time. But I would also suggest that you need to, so for example, if you're going to graduate in 2026, don't plan to take the exam in 2029, because they look at your year of graduation and so if you plan to graduate in 2026, maybe take the step one in 2026 or before. Okay, but yes, you can take the USMLE exam at any time. Okay.
Nice. And just our last question, we have here a case of someone who passed step 2 before taking step 1, and now thinking about prepping, taking the step 1 in 3 to 4 months. Suggestions about how much time would he need, and is it the step 1 high in anatomy?
Honestly, I don't know if you can. I don't want to say you can't take the exam in 3 to 4 months. I mean, you already wrote step 2, then why not? Yes. But I think it's very important that you understand the concepts in step 1, not just for the exam, but also just to be a good doctor as well. Okay. Because 3 to 4 months, you also want to be really confident when you take this exam. Okay. So, I mean, if you have at least, I don't know, 14 hours a day, maybe why not? You can take the exam in 3 to 4 months. I think, yeah. Is step 1 high on anatomy? Honestly, it depends because some people had more ethics. It just depends on what question you get on that day. But yeah, don't rule anything out. Don't say, oh, I think if they don't ask a lot of questions about. Don't rule anything out. Study everything, learn everything, know everything. But if you're really smart and really really good, and you already wrote step 2, I think why not? Go for it. Why not? Okay.
Nice. Yeah, probably just one last one because I think this is an interesting one. Someone suggests, asks here, like suggesting reading the first aid. or just watching the videos related to the content.
So about reading first aid or watching videos about the content, the most part of first aid is summarized. It's just like a summary. It's not really, the full content. You might need to watch videos to fully understand what's going on. So I would suggest, especially at the beginning of your prep, to watch videos and, understand what's going on. And then when you start using QBanks, you can, make some notes and just read your first aid. And you can read the first aid maybe a day or no, we also have rapid review, by the way, so you can also review rapidly maybe 2 days before your exam. So yeah, I would suggest that. And yes, I like that. Lecturio saved my life on shelves. I'm sure, definitely. All right. Okay.
Yeah, all right, perfect. So thank you. Those were the questions for this session. And then again, thank you for sharing your experience, your tips. I think that was super insightful and it was super helpful for the students who are going to take their USMLE soon. Yeah, so thank you everyone for being here in this session, for joining, for coming again. So if you have any questions about the platform or our events, here's our email, events@lecturio.com, so you can always reach out and ask any questions that you have. And of course, follow us on social media, our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube channel. We're posting daily content there to support your medical career. So thank you again. Thank you for being here. And we hope to see you again soon.